Hey, how's it going guys? Jackson here at Toasty DIY, and today we're going to be showing you guys how to put together the Ketive garden bed, and I'll have the actual dimensions right here on the screen. There's a few different brands on Amazon that honestly just kind of rebrand the same style, but as long as yours looks pretty similar to this here, yeah, if you just follow this video step by step, as long as yours looks similar to this, then you should have a pretty good finished product. Let's go ahead and get into it. So once you get your flat pack open, you should have everything you see here. You should have 4 legs. You should have 2 of your long runners that'll actually hold your bottom slats on. You should have a total of 4 of the main garden bed retainer, like the supports. You should have 2 of your main sidewalls. You should have 2 more of the end sidewall pieces, and then you should have a good amount of slats here. You should have 13 of these little slats that go underneath the garden bed to actually hold your soil, tools, and whatnot. And then you should have 3 of these braces that go right underneath these here to kind of help support. And then you should have 1 fabric liner here that'll go inside the bed. It's kind of shaped like a basket. And then you should have a really good amount of screws inside of a bag. All right, so we got a crucial step here that the first time we built this, we did backwards, and you want to make sure you avoid that. So these holes here need to be opposite of the end pieces. Otherwise, you're gonna have to drill new holes, or you're just gonna build a really flimsy bed that may or may not stand up. This is going to be the outside of the bed. So the opposite of this will be the inside. So there shouldn't be any holes in the inside except for these going through. These are gonna take really long machine bolts that are gonna go into the long pieces. So just make sure that on both of these, you can see that large hole and the smaller holes. And then here's the other piece here. So once again, just make sure that this hole and your other little holes here are on this side, because if they're like inversed or anything, you're gonna end up having to take this apart if you wanna build it properly. All right, so for this next step, and by the way, for a lot of this, you really should have a drill with a number 2 Phillips. I'm using an impact drill, but normal drill doesn't really matter. You're gonna be using some coarse thread screws. So these are, they just call them standard wood screws. And then you really wanna make sure that these are pushed together well. Make sure that your pieces are all the way down, because if you drill these in and like something doesn't line up, you'll definitely figure that out later. So for this next step, you want to make sure that you only put 1 of these on first. And this right here is going to be your bottom. So we'll actually just go ahead and do it this way. And you want to make sure you only do 1 side, because otherwise you won't be able to get all this. And I suggest doing the long ones first after building the other kit, because these tend to strip really easily. Even though they're massive bolts, they somehow, I wouldn't have designed these as a Phillips. It's a long story short. So you're going to have to get the screw kind of like halfway in, and they're going to take this, which is basically a specialty nut, and you're going to put that in the other side, which we'll get a close-up of this on the other side. All right, now we're going to repeat the same thing for the other side. Just remember, don't put the other end on yet. So we're going to take another one of these. It's like probably like a 3.5 inch screw, machine screw, and another one of these. All right, so that recording was a lot longer than it needed to be. These are definitely the worst part of this whole design, but once you get this through, so these right here, you should have the flathead part going straight, like parallel, or the same direction as the screw, I should say. And if it's not, then it's definitely not gonna go. So yeah, we ended up having to kind of tip it up, and then this just had to go down a little bit more, because like I said, these aren't gonna be like perfectly machine tolerant since it's just wood. So just keep that in mind and be patient with this step. All right, so now we're gonna be putting the 4 slats in. Just make sure those are all the way on so we don't drop all of our pieces, so we got to repeat that step. Obviously we can't access the nut part right now, so we'll just get these in, kind of keep it from falling out. All right, let's see if the other side is easy. So now we're going to put our 3 support pieces on. These kind of basically just keep the sides from bowing out, because if that happens, you're obviously going to lose your wood pieces here. So this next step, once again, kind of vital on direction. You have a bunch of little pre-drilled holes that's gonna be like for your slats on the bottom. Make sure that those holes are facing the bottom of the bed. And then these are gonna go on the inside. And what's nice about this one is it still uses those long bolts that looked pretty awful. They were horrible to use, but they actually are through hole and they just use a normal nut on the other end. And then you might need something like a little crescent wrench or a pair of channel locks, but with these going into wood, you can probably just kind of hold it with your finger. So for this next step, you got those 13 slats, and you're gonna have to put every single one of those on with 2 screws, and the screws are all pre-drilled. They're really small coarse thread screws. So next up you have these pieces here, which are metal corner reinforcement tabs. They're, I think, labeled K. And you're kind of just gonna eyeball these towards the middle of each one. You're gonna be, what screws are these? I. So we're using the I screws. Each one gets 8. Corner pieces on. Make sure that the holes are going diagonal towards the inside of the bed. And you're gonna put the wooden dowels in first. So they'll just go in the center. You can use like a hammer or just honestly a screwdriver, just press them in. And for the last step, we're gonna put the little tool holder, just using the I screws. You just need 2 of them. There's no pre-drilled holes, so it's kind of wherever you want. I mean, you could put this in the front, the side, you don't have to put it on at all. So at this point, you just put the liner inside of it. You know, you can always make your own if you want as well, if you're worried about, like if you're doing it inside, you know, you might need something that's a little more waterproof. So you could always double up, whatever. Yeah, make sure you get screws out so they don't poke a hole in it. But yeah, that's it right there. So hopefully you guys enjoy. Don't forget down below will be an affiliate link to buy it, or hopefully some kind of link. And we'll see you guys later. Peace out.